Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. Today we're wrapping up the month of November. I hope I'm not too late. I couldn't shoot this any sooner because I got sick, but today I'm feeling much better, so I've decided to sit down and chat with you about my November reads. The month of November was a very successful month. It was full of such diverse books and I can't wait to share them with you. The first book I read in November was Project Hail Mary. This is a sci-fi. I think I've mentioned this book once. I think it was in my previous video where I was talking about the most surprising and shocking endings, shocking books in general, and this one was on the list because yeah, this book is full of surprises and honestly it's such a page turner. I couldn't put it down, and considering the fact that I'm not even a sci-fi reader, I think it's saying something. And okay, let me tell you the premise. So honestly, I don't even want to give you any premise because I think if you read it without really knowing anything about it, without knowing much about it, it can give you the best experience. I will only tell you that it starts with our main character waking up on a spaceship, not knowing how he ended up here, not knowing who he is, not remembering anything. And from there, you keep remembering some things as the plot goes on, along with the main character, and as you remember all those things, you start to understand what you're actually doing here and what you're supposed to do next. And this is such a fascinating book. It has a very moving plot. The ending was not perfect, but it just touched me so deeply and it just really impressed me. I don't even know what else I could tell you because I genuinely think that if you just go into this blind, it's the best. I think all you have to know is that it's a full-on sci-fi. Speaking of that aspect, by the way, which is the largest aspect of this book, as someone who doesn't usually read sci-fi books, it was pretty understandable. Like, there was a lot of technology, lots of like physics, chemistry, but I want to tell you that even if you don't understand every tiny detail of every chemical or technological process in this book, you can still follow the plot. You don't have to be a pro at like physics or chemistry or technology, I don't know, space topics, to understand the plot. This was not a 5-star read for me, only because at times I was a little bit bored and tired of all these like calculations. It was a little bit too much. Most of the time I didn't mind calculating everything with the character and finding out things through those calculations, but sometimes those calculations just kept happening again and again and again and again, and I was like, okay, now we're calculating something again, so I'll put it down and get back to this book later. So that was the main issue, but overall it's a great book. It's a great story, and the movie comes out in March 2026, so even if you've never read the book, even if you don't want to read this book after watching this, still I think you should go see the movie. I'm sure it's gonna be good. I don't know, of course, how accurate the movie will be, how close to the book it will be. I have my hopes. Also, I want to say there are currently 2 trailers out. If you want to take a glimpse at what this is all about, I think the best option is the first trailer, because I think the first trailer still tells you one very, surprising like plot twist, but it's still better than the second trailer, because the second trailer tells you literally almost everything. Almost everything. But maybe if you're not a reader, this book, yeah, can be maybe not as digestible as the movie, but again, the movie hasn't come out yet, so no one has seen it, and we don't know what the movie is like. But yeah, it was such a good book, such a good start of the month, and I'm so glad I read it, and I just can't wait to see the movie. I'm so super excited. Yeah, really looking forward to it. There was Project Hail Mary. The next book I read in November was such an anticipated read of mine. It's Alchemized. If you watch BookTube or Book Talk, I think you've already seen this book, but even if you haven't, let me quickly tell you what it's about. Basically, this book is divided into 3 parts. In the first part, we're following our main protagonist that finds herself in a post-war situation. She's like on the good side, let's say, and her side has lost. So she wakes up imprisoned in the hands of the enemy and realizes that she doesn't really remember anything about the war. She doesn't realize they lost the war until someone tells her. If you don't mind, yeah? Hi! Yeah, I think we can continue. So, okay, the people who, from the enemy side obviously, who have her at their disposal, think that someone removed a very crucial part of her memory, and they think that it's really valid and important for them to know, because our main character was on the opposite side of the war. She's literally their prisoner now, and yeah, they want to bring her memories back. That is the first part. The second part of the book is all flashbacks. Flashbacks were thrown into the past with the war going on and everything. Then we have the third part, which is back in the present time. This book, I'm in a real hate-and-love relationship with this book, okay? I'm 100% certain that this is one of the best stories I have ever read. The story itself, the concept, the story, the idea, the message were so perfect, were so good. I mean, not even like perfect, they cannot be perfect, they can be imperfect. It's a war story. The story was so good. But the book, the ultimate product, right, of the story was not. Unfortunately, very, very unfortunately for me, because I wanted to love this book so much, and I didn't. But I did love the story, okay, on the other hand, which is so confusing. I still don't know what to rate it, by the way. It's always between 3.7 and 4 stars. I still don't know what this book is to me, because the story it's devastating. It is heartbreaking, and it's so strong at the same time. Okay, I can tell you this much. When I finished the book, okay, when I finished it, the last line, the very, very last line, hit so hard. Only when I read the last line, I realized what I just read. I realized what kind of story I just went through. It all started playing in my head. I started seeing all those images I pictured while reading this book, and I was like, whoa, what did I just read? But the thing is, and that thing annoys me so much, it still does, I did not feel the same way while I was on this journey. It's like I felt all those emotions that I was supposed to feel in the process after finishing the book. And it was so confusing to me. I'm telling you, the last line, it's haunting. I can't. The last line, if you read the book or if you're going to read it, please, someone scream with me, because I can't. Now let's talk about the things that made me really mad. And because of those things, I didn't feel what I felt after finishing the book. Let's talk about them. First of all, I was so interested in the magic system, and I wanted to understand all of it, but I couldn't. It felt like the author didn't let me understand all of it, because I think a lot of things in this book were explained so poorly that I had to look them up. And when I did that, I eventually saw some spoilers that I was not supposed to see. And I can't say that it spoiled the entire story. No, not at all. But I hate spoilers so much. And you know what? The thing is, I saw the spoilers and I still couldn't find enough information, enough background for me to understand what I looked it up for. It made me so angry. It made me so mad at this book. And it happened at the very beginning, which was even more frustrating. There was one thing that I didn't love. A lot of things, in my opinion, weren't explained well enough. Like, they were explained, but in such a chaotic way. I didn't understand how it all worked. I just knew that it worked, but how and why it worked that way, that was a huge flaw for me. The other thing that I did not love, I didn't really care about the minor characters. Like, I did care about the main characters pretty much, and yeah, they were interesting to follow. There were a lot of minor characters, like it's a war. There was a lot of stuff going on. I just didn't care, and I still don't really know why, to be honest. Again, I feel like I just know that these characters are close to each other, that they cherish each other. The main question was why. Some moments still made me emotional. I guess it's just because I'm a very empathetic person and I don't need much explanation given to feel something. Some moments still made me emotional, and I was genuinely surprised, to be honest, that it did make me emotional, because I was like, wait, but I don't care about him. Like, why am I crying? I think it's just because I can picture, stories in my head, and that's like enough for me. Of course, the effect can be even stronger when the writing gives you that effect, but yeah, in that case, it was not the writing, I think, and it was not the storytelling, it was just my picturing everything and kind of feeling for the main character, I think. Like, I did feel for the main character mostly, but not for the minor characters, even when something happened to them. I loved the world, the magic system, everything was so good. Such a good concept, such a good story and message, because it's a war story and it's so relatable and unfair, but the lack of, some good explanation, lack of connection to the minor characters, kind of, brought it down for me. I also think that the third part, when we're back in the present time, was a little bit slow and a little boring, I guess, especially like at the end. And I've heard a lot of people say that the third part could have been a bit longer, which I don't agree with. I don't see how you could want this book to be any longer than it is, because it's more than 1,000 pages long. Anyway, it was a journey. Okay, it was a journey. This book consumed me for a few days, not even a few, like 10 days, I think, yeah. I finished it within 10 days. Also, the one important thing that I think you need to know is that there's a romance plot or subplot, I don't even know what to call it, but it takes up quite a lot of space in here. It's a very important part of the plot, just for you to know. I love this story, but the way it was told at times, all those things kind of just brought it down for me. So I heard that it's being made into a movie, which is very exciting. I do want to see it come to life and see, when I'm even now, as I'm picturing everything all over again, it seems like such a good book. I don't know. I think, yeah, it was the way everything was told and explained that kind of messed it all up for me. Still don't know how I feel about this book, though. Also forgot to tell you a little bit more about the magic system. It's based on alchemy. Maybe you already guessed it because it's called Alchemized, but if not, there's a lot to it. Like, every character has a resonance. There's a lot of necromancy, vivimancy, if you know what it is. Well, welcome to the Look Up Club. Just be careful not to see any spoilers, because there's no glossary in this book, which also really surprised me, but in a bad way, because yeah, I don't know, I expected some kind of a glossary in here, because there were a lot of unfamiliar words and terminology. I had to look it all up, and if you want to do the same, be careful. That's all I can say. Okay, yeah, that is Alchemized. The next book I read in November was Silver Cloak by L.K. Stephen. I've heard that this author has 2 nicknames maybe, and under this nickname she writes adult books. This one is an adult fantasy. I think it's her adult fantasy debut, if I'm not mistaken. And under the other name she writes YA fantasies. Anyway, I've never read her YA books, and this was my first Silky Steven. This was so good. This is the beginning of a trilogy. The trilogy is called the Silver Cloak Saga. Yeah. So this is book 1, which is Silver Cloak. This is a fantasy with a very interesting magic system that is based on pain and pleasure. I'll tell you a little bit how it works. I don't think it's a spoiler because you get familiar with it pretty soon in the story. If you want to make your magic stronger, you hurt yourself because pain can strengthen your magic. If you want to refill your magic well, let's say, because yeah, it's actually described as a well, like figuratively speaking. If you want to refill that well, right? For example, I don't know, you've been fighting or doing something with your magic and you feel like your well is almost empty. All you need to do is do something pleasant, something that gives you pleasure and joy. And yeah, the world is so cute. It has so many like these pleasure things that you can use to refill your magic well. That is such a nice concept. I really found it to be so fun. Anyway, let me give you a little premise. So at the very beginning of the story, our main character's parents get killed by the Blood Moons. The Blood Moons are criminals of the city or maybe even the country. So then after a number of years, she enters the Silver Cloak Academy to basically to train to become a Silver Cloak. They are like the police of this world. However, in the end, she ends up becoming one of the Blood Moons to spy on them. How that happens, you find it out yourself. As a Blood Moon and as a Silver Cloak spy, she starts working along with the son of the Blood Moon's king. Yeah, this book was so good. I really enjoyed it. It was full of tension. There's a lot of legends in this book. I wonder if they'll be explored more in the next books. I guess they will. Otherwise, why would they be mentioned at all? A lot of legends, information on the other countries in this world. I think we got all that information because it's going to be elaborated on in the next books. The ending was fire in this book. Okay, the ending was insane. When you start reading it, you cannot put it down. You need to be all in. You need all your attention and focus. Speaking of the magic system and everything, the world building overall, lots of stuff in this book has to do with time weaving. It was so fascinating to read. So good. So happy I read this. Cannot wait to read the next book. I honestly need it just now, right now, as I'm thinking about the ending again. We need to move on. Okay, Silver Cloak. And the last book I read in November was, actually I don't know what it's called in English because I'm holding the Ukrainian version, but yeah, you cannot see it on screen. The story of Arthur True Love, I guess. I needed something lighter after, you know, all those crazy books. This book definitely was a quick read. Was it good? No, it wasn't. Unfortunately, it wasn't. I can't say I had really high expectations for this book, but I did have some anyway. Okay, I will tell you what it's about first. Our main character is visiting his wife's grave and he spends every day next to the place where she was buried, and then one day he sees a girl who is just sitting under a tree and not really doing anything there. They both see each other and kind of wonder like what each of them is doing here, why they're here, and one of them decides to come up to the other one and say hi. What are you doing here? Something like that. And that's how these two get acquainted. After that, the story goes on. There's a lot of subplots in this book, actually, even though it's really short. It's just like 200 pages, in this version at least. Well, I did not like this book. It was just extremely boring. My main issue with this book was the writing. It felt so unnatural. All the conversations, all the interactions between the characters felt really awkward. I keep wondering though if it was because of the translation, because I read this book in Ukrainian, not in English, and then I looked up some reviews and found out that some other people thought the same thing. So maybe it's not about the translation. I don't know, just it didn't do it for me. The story itself is really moving. Again, like I said, like it was with Alchemist, even if I don't like the writing and if I don't like the way the story is told, it doesn't mean I don't feel the story. I can still see why a lot of people love this book. At times it's cute, at times it's really moving, at times it's really sad. A lot of us, a lot of just ordinary people can relate to some of these characters because they are very ordinary people as well, and they have their life problems, they have some stuff to deal with. It's about seeking help, getting it, giving it. It's about respect, a friendship. I don't know what else was wrong with this book though, other than the writing. I felt like there were too many descriptions. A lot of those descriptions were kind of unnecessary. It was like really slow as well. Slow moments were not interesting to read at all. I just wanted to skip them, but I didn't. I kept reading because it's a short book. I'd already started it, so I was like, why don't I just finish it? To have a coherent opinion on this book. I would not recommend it, honestly, even considering the story being moving and all of that. Still, I don't think it's worth your attention. There's definitely a lot of contemporary books that are much better. I've actually seen people compare this book to The Man Called Ove, I don't know how to pronounce his name. By Frederick Bachman. I've never read Frederick Bachman before, but when I was looking for some reviews on Fable, I saw a couple of people compare this book to the Frederick Bachman one. Again, I've never read him, but that was a little bit of a disappointment. Thankfully, it was a quick read. Anyway, that was the story of Arthur Trulove. Well, those were all the books I read in the month of November. Let me know in the comments what your favorite November read was, and I will see you in the next one.